Okay, so Chevening Scholarships. What are Chevening Scholarships? As Chevening Scholarships are scholarships that are funded by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. We've just been merged recently, and partner organizations. They are also aimed at people who have potential leadership skills, people who have very strong academic backgrounds, and also people who have networking abilities. Chevening scholarships are fully funded and they're available in over 160 countries. They're mainly for a master's program only. No one applying for PhD can apply for it. It should be a master's program which is not more than 1 year, which is also not less than 1 year, and it should not be a distance learning course. As a result of COVID-19, there are a few changes because in some countries, people are unable to travel at the time when they want to leave. So basically what happens is you can start you can start your course online first, and then after that, as soon as you're able to travel, then you can continue from the UK. We also do not have part-time courses, so it has to be strictly 1 year. Next, who are they aimed at? I was saying initially that they're aimed at people who have very strong academic backgrounds, people who have the ability to network and very, very, very good interpersonal skills. It is also often that most times these people who get the scholarship rise to very prominent positions in their countries. So usually because of the prestige of this application and of this scholarship, you find people turning out to be rising to very high positions in their countries. So who should apply for the Chevening Scholarship? You have to be a citizen of a Chevening eligible country. Fortunately, Nigeria is one. You should have an undergraduate degree and have at least 2 years work experience. This work experience can be volunteering experience, it can be internship, it can be full-time, it can be paid, as long as it adds up to 2 years. Usually this is calculated by calculating the number of hours, which is 35 hours in a week, times 40 weeks, which makes 1 year. And then once you add that up for 2 years, then that is your minimum work experience. You should also not have received UK funding previously. So if you've already applied before for any scholarship where you've completed a course, you can't apply on this occasion because you have already received funding. So to ensure that you're eligible to apply, you have to make sure that you have an unconditional offer from at least one of 3 course choices and from 3 universities. You also have to ensure.
I think some of the attendants are saying that the slide is not moving. I saw some posts.
So it's not moving yet. It's going to move next. I'm on one slide now. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm talking about the eligibility criteria now. Yes, sorry about that. So yes, you have to have an unconditional offer from at least one of the 3 course choices, because what happens is that you're going to have to apply to 3 universities, and out of the 3 universities, you can have conditional offers, and then after the 3, out of those offers, you have to have at least one which is unconditional by the 16th of July 2021. But for the purpose of the application form, you don't have to have the unconditional offer just yet. You also need to check with your universities for the specific requirements and ensure that you meet them. So, well, this is good news for some people who might have applied in the past. The Chevening English language requirement has now been removed as being a requirement. This happened as a result of the COVID-19 initially, and the inability to access testing sites. But I mean, Chevening have come together now and decided that there really isn't a need to request for this. But it's very important for you to check with your universities in advance and be sure that you do not require the English language test. So what does the scholarship cover? It is fully funded, and scholars who get this scholarship are able to live by the stipends that are provided every month. So there's a monthly stipend. The flight tickets are paid for, that's your to and fro, and then you get other grants depending on what functions you have enough money to attend any of the programs that they have set out for you. It also covers your visa fees and also the immigration health surcharge, which means you do not have to pay to use the health services while you are in the UK. Something to note is also that if you're applying for an MBA, you would have to, we can only fund £18,000 to the tune of £18,000. Anybody who wants to pay, who wants to study an MBA will now have to pay for the difference. So that is the only course that has a restriction on it. Other things that Chevening scholars can do in the UK is they can attend networking events, they can attend talks, travel around the UK, and on graduating, they will join over 50,000 other Chevening alumni. Usually this is, a very strong, influential network, so it's something to look forward to at the end of the course. So with the Chevening alumni community, fortunately, we have a lot of alumni here on this webinar, so you'll be hearing a lot more from them at the end of this. It's been running since 1983. That's the scholarship has been running since 1983 globally, but in Nigeria, it started in 1984. And right now we have over 50,000 alumni worldwide. In Nigeria, we have about 1,200 alumni, so it is a very strong network, and it includes Cheveners from a wide range of disciplines and fields. So notable Chevening alumni, many of you might know John Momo, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Channels Media Group. He's one of our alumni. We also have Herbert Wigwe, who is the Chairman of Access Bank. And then we have Toki Mabogunje, who is the President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. With us on this panel is also our notable alumni, Mr. Kester Osahenye, who is the President of the community of alumni, the Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria, and he's also a senior manager at MTN. So as you can see, we have quite a number of notable alumni. So I'll just briefly talk about the application period. So for now, the applications have opened, as you all know, and they close on the 3rd of November. Then the applications are sifted against the eligibility criteria, which I had mentioned earlier on. And then the applications are read by an independent committee, after which they are shortlisted and sent to the posts, which could either be in Abuja or Lagos. And after that, we do another sift, and then we shortlist applicants for interview. So they're notified in February of 2021, or they will be notified in February of 2021. Then the interview period is in March, and then the results are announced in June. And then the selected applicants would, by this time, should have received their unconditional offer letters from one of their 3 selected universities. For those who require English language in their schools, this also would have to be, should be ready by this time. And then by September and October, successful applicants begin to travel to their various, travel to the UK and begin to attend their various universities. So further information about Chevening scholarships, we have over 1,500 scholarships awarded every year from 160 countries and territories. And it's a thing of joy to be able to apply for the scholarship and get the scholarship. So we encourage you all, now that the applications are open, to go online and try and put your best foot forward and see, if you can be selected during this process. So most of the information that you would need, you would find on our website. So please visit www.chevening.org/apply for more information about the Chevening Scholarship. There's a lot that we cannot cover at this webinar, but it's very good that you spend time reading the website, because you will get a lot of information there as well. So before I talk about the talk about the essays on the online application form, I'll first of all want to explain that the application form is very easy to complete. Some of you might have started trying that out already. Usually you would have to complete the eligibility section. You would have to complete your personal details, your contact details, the education that you have, your education criteria, and everything that you've done in the throughout your education, your qualifications and everything. You need to complete those on the form. And then you need to talk about your work experience. This is where you will calculate how many hours you've worked in a week, how much time you've spent, if you've been able to accumulate the 2 years that is required. And then that's the part when you also have to talk about your universities, and then choose the three universities that you have researched about. So on the essays, there are 4 different essays in the application form. So the first one is on leadership and influencing, and you have to explain and give clear examples about when you've been able to lead and influence others. The next one is on networking, and how you intend to build on professional networks, or how you have had experience building on these in the past. Then there's a study in the UK essay, where you have to explain how your experience has been relevant to your chosen courses and how you will achieve your career goals. And finally, your career plan, which explains what your short-term, your long-term career goals are, and how you will achieve them and how they will benefit your home country. So I'll just give a few application tips, because I'm sure that the other panelists have a lot more to talk about. But I mean, what I want to say is that if you are completing your form, it's very important that you tell your own story. You do not lie when you are writing your application. Make sure that you've understood the questions and read them carefully, because this is a very competitive application process. There's so many people applying, so you need to show us how your application stands out over other people's. Then you also need to write in clear English, and then when writing your application, your essays, you need to ensure that you use, or you try and use, the STAR approach model to write your essays. That would be the STAR approach, and that is the situation, the task, the action you took, and then the results. So you try and align your essays to follow this approach. Sometimes you might have your lessons learned, so you need to add that in as well. The more you write the essays, the stronger they will become by the time you use this approach. Also remember to save your application and keep on coming back to it when you need to. Do not rush your answers. Make sure that you probably work offline, because it's easier when you're offline. You can spend as much time correcting your essays and making sure they're as strong as possible. And once you're done with that, then you can submit. Also, start researching now. Make sure you submit, to your 3 universities, or apply to your 3 universities as soon as you can, so that you can know how to answer the question on study in the UK. You should also be mindful of the deadline. Try not to submit your application on the last day. Sometimes there are technical glitches on the last day, so it's safer to try and submit like a few days before the deadline. Also check the size and format of your requirements before submitting your documents. So other helpful tips would be that, as I said earlier on, you can prepare your answers offline and you can save your data, and then familiarize yourself with the application sections, because you probably would find that some sections would take longer than other sections. So best thing to do is to find out what is applicable on the form so that you will know which ones you want to do first and quickly, and then probably spend more time completing the essays. Also, ensure that you reach out to your referees on time, because you have to upload 2 reference letters before the deadline, which is on the 3rd of November. For some of you who already follow UK in Nigeria on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Instagram, you should already have an idea of what our priorities are. It doesn't mean that these priorities are exclusive to, what we see as top priority, but basically these are the priority areas for now. These are climate change, security and stability, trade and investment, demography, science and innovation. And for now, we've added the COVID-19 response, because as we all know, this has been a challenging year and COVID has hit different communities. And so we're trying to see in what ways we can help these communities. But it is not limited to these areas that I have highlighted here. You can study any course and still be able to apply. You don't have to insist that your essays have to tie with these priorities. The main thing is that you have to show us the passion in your application. You have to show us where you're heading to, and then we would be able to determine from there, whether or not you have a strong application. But for now, these are our priority areas in Nigeria. Finally, it would be very good if you continue reading up about Chevening on social media. These are our different handles. Our website I had already mentioned earlier on, and then that's our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram handles, and LinkedIn. So I'll just hand over to Sarah, who would hand over to the next panelist. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Layo, for that wonderful presentation. If you're just joining us, we are on the guide to applying for Chevening Scholarships webinar. Thank you once again for coming. So that was our Chevening Program Officer, Layo, who gave a rundown about Chevening and requirements and eligibility. And now I'm going to pass on to Mr. Kester Osahenye, the CAAN president, to talk about the leadership part of applying to the Chevening scholarships. Because as Layo mentioned, we've got 4 essays: the leadership, networking, study in the UK, and the career essay. So Mr. Kester is going to handle the leadership part of this application. And in addition to that, also talk about the CAAN network and the benefits from joining this network as a Chevener. Over to you, Sir Kester. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for putting this together. Good evening, everyone. And just like I told a lot of people, the Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria, which is CAAN, is a distinguished association. Layo has mentioned some distinguished Nigerians who are actually privileged to be in this association. But I will start by saying, so many persons will tell you different scholarship across the world, but I can tell you without equivocation that Chevening is the biggest and the best. The present president of Costa Rica is a Chevener. I don't know if you know that. The 48th president of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado, It gave us a lot of opportunity to aspire for leadership position in corporate and also in private organization. I don't have a slide, but I will talk this way. So many persons, when they're writing the leadership essay, they mention what they've done in their schools. They mention what they've done volunteering. Do you know that when you mention what you have actually done in your family as a leader, it could help your opportunity? I've been a panelist since 2010 till last year. And when I sit on the interview panel, we look out, or the panelists look out for how you have exhibited innate leadership potentials. What have you done differently that shows that you are a leader? I remember vividly how a doctor told us a story, how in their hospital, they never had many beds to treat people in Ibadan. He decided to convert so many chairs. There was a pandemic then. I think it was during Ebola. He converted chairs and decided to use couches and brought cushions and brought foams from his home. So that is another example of what leaders could do, inventing in the time of distress. And also, so many persons use what they've done in volunteering. What example do you give? What are the selling examples? What is your unique selling point as a leader? Nelson Mandela said, when you lead from behind, you see what the people you're leading are doing. It is an example of how you can actually carry people along. How much have you influenced people as a leader? So in putting your essay together, particularly when it comes to leadership, ensure you cite example in STAR methodology. What is the situation? What is the task? What action and results did you achieve? So those are very salient points you need to mention. So without wasting so much time, I'll go into the CAAN network, the Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria, CAAN. Presently, I've been privileged to be elected the president of the association. But before me, Mr. John Momo, the president of Channel Media Group, was the president, who is now the chairman board of trustees. Layo mentioned already to you, we're over 1,200 and something across Nigeria and also the world. Some of our alumni members, they've moved to the US. Some are working at the African Union in Addis Ababa. Some are working in South Africa. Some are working at the United Nations. We have diplomats. I will mention the known and the unknown. The MD of First Bank, Dr. Adeduton, is a Shivna. The CEO of Access Bank, Herbert Nwigwe, is a Shivna. Amina Yagbola, who used to be in MTN as the head of HR, is a Shivna. Then we have Professor Amasike, used to be one of the top executive at the United Nations, who is now retired and live in Abuja, is a Shivna. The head of the Department of Mass Communication, Baz University Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, is a Shivna. Then we have Ijoma Onyato, who is in Channels TV, one of the presenters there. I know so many of you know her. She's a Shivna. Betty Dibia, who is a correspondent in South Africa, is a Shivna. And we have so many other people. Simon Kolawole, who used to be in This Day and publishes The Cable, is a Shivna. Then we have a young man who has done so very well at University College Ibadan, Dr. Diri. Why did his name come to remembrance? At some point in his career, that young man succeeded in inventing a major strategy towards managing leukemia and was a curated content in medical practice in Nigeria. That young man is a Shivna. We have so many persons who are distinguished leaders in their various fields. We always say in Chevening, if you will be a Chevening scholar for 1 year, but you'll be a Shivna for life. We don't play with discipline. It is an opportunity for you to go away for 1 year to the UK and come back to your country and add value. After 2 years, you can now say, okay, I want to go for a PhD, I want to go anywhere. But it is a contractual agreement, which you have with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Layo has just told you they've been merged now, the FCDO. So it's an opportunity. It's one of the richest scholarships anyone can get because you're given a stipend every month. Your school fees is paid for. She just gave you an example of the MBA. If you have an excess of that amount, that's the only time they may not be able to pay for everything. But this is a scholarship that will give you an edge in terms of networking. As a scholar at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, UK, I had an opportunity of going for so many writing workshops in New York, in Edinburgh. From there on till today, I'm a life member of the Edinburgh Book Festival. I am invited. This year, because of COVID, we have to do it virtually. I have to read online. What I'm trying to say is that Chevening gave me that opportunity of networking. It gave me opportunity of meeting with like-minded who are writers. Yes, I work in telecom, but I'm also a writer. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Chevening network globally is an unfettered atmosphere for you to network with people around the world. The distinction is this. Apart from learning, you have an opportunity of knowing people in your field. You have an opportunity of relating with people across the globe because people are coming from everywhere. Today, I have two friends in government in Kenya. They were my cohorts, and they are minister in Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Two of them were privileged to be in my school, and they are ministers in government. In our Alumni Association, we have everyone, doctors, bankers, public servants, academia, everywhere. So what we have in the Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria that you can't get elsewhere is the opportunity to network, opportunity to do a lot of things. We have what we call the Chevening Budget Roundtable, which we started 2 years ago. From this television program, the immediate past Minister of Budget and Planning got insight from our presentation, and we did a communique after that program. It was an input, the input we gave that gave the minister opportunity to do a KPI, a key performance indicators on how much budget is allocated to each ministry and how they could track the budget cycle. That was one of our input from Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria. So I don't want to bore you with words because we have a timing. It's one of the biggest and huge platform for you to network and meet people. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Sir Kester. Thank you for that wonderful discussion, that wonderful presentation. That was Sir Kester, the president of Chevening Alumni Association Network, the CAAN network. And he just gave an overview of the leadership essay, what the Chevening body is looking for in leaders, and also the benefits of joining the Chevening network. And in this sense, if you're in Nigeria and the CAAN network, which he explained very well. So moving on from Mr. Kester, I would go to Ms. Teniola Tayo, who is going to talk more about the third essay in the Chevening application process, which is known as the second essay in the Chevening application platform, which is known as the networking essay. Over to you, Ms. Tenny.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I hope you can hear me fine. So I think I'm first of all supposed to talk about my Chevening experience, just to summarize it very briefly. And I have a few points here. So one of the most remarkable things to me about the Chevening experience was I'm still a chief. No, I'm not actually. I think I am done. That's incredible because we had our passing out ceremony, if I can use a Nigerian term, a few weeks ago. But then one of the most remarkable things was the community of like-minded people. So there was a lot of positive energy from being amongst everyone. So even during the pandemic in London, because my university was in London, I was in the London School of Economics, we had such a strong sense of community. So via our WhatsApp groups or the Facebook groups, we tried to support each other as much as we could, even to help each other study. So for example, people were home, they were not in their universities, they didn't have access to their university libraries. And there was a point when someone started the virtual library, so where they would get on a Zoom call. And if you're trying to study, you get on the same Zoom call, and literally it's everyone on a Zoom call trying to study from their different houses. So it was just incredible, the kind of community that Chevening was able to give us. Then I'd say also the support from Chevening, from the Chevening organization itself. So the program officer in Nigeria and also in the UK, they were very supportive. They just wanted to make our experience as seamless as possible. They wanted to make us happy. I got that sense that they wanted to make us as happy as possible. You know, they wanted to, it wasn't even like they were doing, even though it's a scholarship and they're financing our education, it wasn't like they were doing us a favor. They actually wanted us to be happy with the scholarship and with everything that was going on. In the UK, they tried their best to introduce us to the UK, to the culture, to the food. You have many Chevening events to try to, it's called the best of the UK, I think is what it's called. So to try to introduce you to the UK, and I found that very remarkable as well. And then the prestige of the scholarship. I mean, for people that haven't followed the scholarship for a long time, you may not realize how prestigious it is. Even for me, like, the prestige of the scholarship is something that I discovered even as a scholar. So, like I said, I was in the London School of Economics, which is one of the good schools, you know, one of the very good schools in the UK. So one of the, if I can use the word posh, one of the posh schools in the UK. But then even there, when a teacher would be introducing, or when a lecturer would be introducing someone that was a Chevening scholar, they would mention especially that this person is a Chevener. So even there, one of the best schools in the UK, the Chevening brand was recognized and it was very highly regarded. So that's something that I think that no one should take for granted. So the community, you know, the community of fellow Cheveners, and like Kester mentioned, it continues even after you finish. So it's going to continue for years and years. And then the support from the Chevening organization, I tell Layo sometimes that I'm just amazed, you know. It's something that you don't really expect, but then it's incredible. And then the prestige of the scholarship, it's also something that would follow you everywhere, something that you'd always have on your profile, something that would always open doors for you. So those are the three remarkable things from my Chevening experience. And now I'm going to talk about the essay. So now getting down to practical business, the networking essay. Generally, I have some recommendations for how to approach the essay. But first of all, I'd like to say that everyone has different ways of approaching the Chevening essays. You won't read two different essays by two different scholars and see the same thing. There's so many different approaches. In fact, you can listen to one scholar talk about how they wrote their essays and listen to another scholar, and you may even hear contradictory things. It happens because people have different approaches. There's no single answer. There's no right way to doing it. It's about you, your authentic voice, your story, and how you're able to convince people that you deserve the Chevening Scholarship. And I like to use the word deserve. I mean, no one deserves anything generally in life, but then if you think that this program is going to help you, you know, move your career forward and it's going to help you contribute to your country, because that's why Chevening is there. Let me quickly make this point. Chevening is not a needs-based scholarship. So I think some people make that mistake. It's not a needs-based scholarship in the sense that you're applying because you're poor. No, it's not. That's not what it is. It's a merit-based scholarship. So it's about excellence. You can be Dangote's daughter and apply for Chevening, and you get it if you convince people that, you know, you need the scholarship. So when I say need now, not because you don't have money, but because that education is going to take you somewhere. You know, it's going to help you contribute to your country. So let me take that out of the way. Now, the networking scholarship, the networking essay, sorry. I think this essay is trying to ask you how you have used networking in the past to progress in your career, how you're going to use, so three things: how you have used networking in the past, then how you're going to use the Chevening network and your university network and generally the UK network to progress in your career, then also how you plan to use networking in the future to get to your destination, the destination that you have defined in your essay. And I mean, I know that some of us, when we think about networking, it's a bit daunting. So it's a bit intimidating. I know a lot of people feel like they haven't networked much in the past, you know, or they don't know much about networking, but it's not true, because what is networking? Networking is connecting with others. So in what ways have you connected with others that you have been able to exchange value? So again, networking is not just one way. It's not you talking to someone and them giving you a job. No. Have you talked to others to help them? And have you talked to others and and they have helped you. So it's two ways. How have you exchanged value with others and either help them move forward in their own careers, or they have helped you move forward in your career? How do you maintain relationships with people? How do you build relationships with people? It can be in your professional life. It can even be in your personal life to an extent, because Chevening is interested in leadership, and leadership traits can exhibit themselves or manifest themselves in our professional lives or in our personal lives. So how have you used networking to move forward, to move the needle on something? Interestingly, so I was also going to mention that I applied twice. So I finally got in on my second application. And I like to say that because many people have been applying and then they've been discouraged. But then I'd like to say that, apply again. The first time I applied, I did get to the interview stage. But then at the interview, I was asked the question, how have you used networking to solve a problem in your organization? And my God, at that point, I was like, I was trying to think of something and nothing came to my mind. I was almost literally blank, for a few seconds. And then I made up a story. But it was so obvious that the story was made up because it wasn't even making sense. It wasn't reasoning. And it just fell flat. So I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't get the scholarship the first time around. I was not prepared for the interview. I didn't have, like ready anecdotes of how I had done the things I had said I had done in my essays to even tell the interviewees. So like I said, what have you used it for in the past? How are you going to use the Chevening network and your university network? Then how are you going to use it in the future? And then, for example, for me, I had a line in my essay that said something like, the only reason why I'm able to submit my candidacy for the Chevening Scholarship is because of my networking, because it was through networking with others that I heard about the scholarship. And I think that that's the same for a lot of people on here. There's also something that a friend of mine likes to say. Her name is Jimmy, and she says that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. So the idea is that everyone has skills and talents that will be very useful to their community, to their societies, to their countries, but opportunity is not. But how do you get access to opportunity? It's through networking. And I think that if we start to think about it this way, then the idea of networking becomes easier for us to contemplate and even to break down in our essays. So how have you used networking how has it helped you get to where you are at this point? Even this webinar, was it through networking that you found out about this webinar? Did you talk to someone that spoke to someone and then sent you the link? Real life examples of how networking has actually, assisted you or helped you in your life. And I think that that's going to be one of the relevant things. Another thing that I don't want us to take for granted is social media. So I know sometimes when we think about networking, we think about going to events and walking up to people and introducing ourselves and saying, my name is this, or, exchange business cards. But then now we know that a lot of things are online. Even before the pandemic, the social media was a big part of networking. So Chevening is also very interested in knowing how you have used your social media networks, if you're a social media person. So how you have used that to further your agenda, if I can put it that way. So if you have an NGO, how have you used it to get funders? How have you used it to get volunteers? How have you used it to get the kind of support that you need? How have you used it to put your message or your information out there? How have you used it to build a community of people that, are like-minded and that can support you? So it's nothing complicated. Just think about it. What are the different ways that you have made a connection with one person to exchange value and to build yourself and also to build them? And that's the networking essay in summary. I'd like to say that the application can be very daunting, but you can do it, number one. And number two, if you have an authentic story, then don't be afraid to tell it. Don't try to copy what someone else is saying. Don't try to put in too many definitions or too many statistics. Tell your story with your own voice. And I also like to say that, I'm sorry if that sound came through, but then I also like to say that the only reason why a reviewer will read hundreds of essays and read yours and remember yours will be because they felt like you were speaking to them directly. So it wasn't just words on a page, but then it sounded like a real human being, an authentic human being. So I think that we should bear that at the back of our minds. So it's about you, it's not about anybody else. It's about you and your journey and how you think the Chevening Scholarship can move you forward or move you further in that journey. So I'll stop here on the networking essay, and I guess I'll take questions later. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Layo, for that. Thank you very much, Layo, for shedding more light on the networking essay and talking about your Chevening experience and letting people know that it's okay to reapply if you don't get it the first time. Very sure there's some people who have reapplied and they're wondering if there are some things that went wrong, but you providing more insight on that would have given them an idea of what to do better the next time they're applying. So moving on from Ms. Tenny, I'm going to hand over to Ms. Debbie Braide, who is going to be talking about the third essay in the Chevening application stage, which is the study in the UK essay.
Thank you, Sarah, and well done to everyone for their presentations. So I'll just quickly talk about the essays in the interest of time before I talk about my Chevening experience and some of the benefits of the Chevening community, which Tenny and Mr. Kester have already spoken about. So with regards to the studying in the UK essay, which is, I believe, the second essay you're going to have to write, Chevening gives you the option of putting 3 universities and 3 course choices. So my recommendation will be to you can put the same or similar courses, but select 3 universities, because this enhances your chances of actually getting an unconditional offer from at least one university, which you need for your acceptance into the Chevening Scholarship Program. And then in terms of actually writing the essay, some of the tips that I would give, I think the first thing I would say is really reflect your passion for the course. Like what inspires you to do that course? Why? Is there a personal story? Is it linked to your academic background or your professional experience? For example, I linked the course I did was Sustainable Energy and Entrepreneurship. And there were 2 things. It was linked to my academic background in chemical engineering in some way, and also my professional background in the energy sector. And I mentioned like my final year project, which was related to renewable energy. And that was what really inspired me and even showed me the possibilities in renewable energy. The second thing is really to show like some proven competence. I also recognize that sometimes the course you want to study may not be linked to your undergraduate degree or even your professional experience. And Sarah would shed more light on how to write an essay, even if it's not the same, even if it's not similar to your background. But if you can prove that you have shown some sort of competence in your academics or in your profession, you could highlight if you. Of course, Chevening is open to people, even if you did not make like a first class or a second class upper. It's open to it's open to everyone, as long as you can prove that competence and prove that you can sustain yourself through a period of like postgraduate study, and you can show that you've demonstrated excellence in other aspects of your life. So you can reflect that competence in this essay as well. If you made some good grades, if you were able to do some volunteering projects or community work in the course or field that you want to go into, you can also mention that in your essay. Also, you can mention if your course is linked to like your country's development, or actually how your course is linked to your country's development, because at the end of the day, the Chevening Scholarship is for you to go to the UK, get academic experience as well as the cultural exchange and build a network, but come back to your country and really do something tangible for your country and contribute to your nation's development. So you can also mention how your course is linked to your nation's development, if there's like a new policy that has been put out, if there's an agenda by the government, and also apart from just your national agenda, you can also link it to like a broader global agenda. So I was able to link my course to the fact that there's an energy crisis in Nigeria, and also there's like a global push to clean energy and and transitioning to renewable energy sources for my sector is like more power focused. So I was able to mention that as well. Then also, I think another beneficial thing is to mention like what aspects of the course you would want to focus on. So if there's like, you can look at your modules on the university. So your modules are like the courses that you'll be taking during your master's program. So you can look at some areas, and if there's something that particularly interests you, maybe so for my field, I was very interested in like mini grids and integration of like renewable energy to the grid. So that I mentioned that is what I would like to focus my research on and my study on, and my dissertation as well. You can choose to go into that level of detail or not, but it's something worth considering. And then I think that one of the things that one of the mistakes that people make when writing this essay is just mentioning that I want to go to, say, the University of Manchester because it's the third best university in the UK. It has a wonderful faculty, or it's highly respected. I would say try not to state the obvious. Like, these things are online and everybody can see them, especially the people reviewing your essays. So try to say things that are maybe a bit more personal to you. Do you have a relative who went to that university and inspired you to consider that university? Or was there a professor at the university who you're really looking forward to working with? Do you like how the courses are structured? For example, for my course, I liked the fact that it was both engineering and business, and that was something I highlighted, that I really wanted to combine both engineering and commercial competencies, and that's what attracted me to that course and that university. Then I would just speak a bit about how to select your courses and selecting your universities. I don't think there's like one standard way of doing it, but for me and my personal experience, I tried to look at universities that ranked highly, looking at their different rankings. You can look at like Times Higher Education, you can look at the World University Rankings, by QS. You can also look at like for ICU or different rankings. So I looked at universities that at least were like top in the UK and well respected. And then the UK has a group called the Russell Group Universities, which are like the leading research institutions. So you can look that up. I narrowed my choices to only universities on the Russell Group list. You don't have to, but you can also look at the universities that are approved by Chevening, and these are all on the website, and the courses are also approved by Chevening. You can look at that, and then you can start there to narrow your search. So that was how I started, and then I further narrowed my search to only universities on the Russell Group. And then, I mean, for selecting your course, I can't really say, I guess the best advice would be to do what you're really passionate about and do what you really want to do. Also tying it to looking within the UK priority areas. I believe Layo would shed some light on that later, but looking into the UK priority areas and seeing how your course is linked to that, and you can select your course like accordingly. I also looked at employability rankings, and looked at the alumni of these universities that I was interested in, because I wanted to see where the alumni of these universities go on to, what sort of career paths or organizations do they end up working for. And that was actually something that influenced my choice of the university. If I were to just add, I would say also look at the university city. If you like maybe really beautiful cities or cities that are cheap for students as well, you can look into those different things when selecting like your university location. So in the interest of time, I'll just quickly summarize what my experience as a Chevener was. Truly, like everyone has said, you're a scholar for a year, but a Chevener for life. It is something that follows you for the rest of your life. And it is truly a prestigious scholarship. But apart from that, I think it's one of the most wonderful opportunities that you can have. Because when you go to the UK, one of the things that I think is very important for postgraduate study or study of any kind is support. And Chevening does give you a support system. You literally have like a Chevener in every city or almost every city in the UK. So if you're traveling around the UK for whatever reason, you will always have a Chevener there, and it just makes your settling in process a whole lot easier. And you sort of have like an unofficial friend in every city, and then even after the scholarship, you now have a friend in a lot of countries, like Mr. Kester already highlighted. And also being a Chevener, even as a scholar, you have access to quite a number of exclusive events. So like sometimes there are opportunities for Chevening scholars to attend conferences like the One Young World Conference and a lot of other summits apart from the ones that Chevening organizes. There's also the opportunity for you to even have access to programs like the Host UK program, which I participated in, and Chevening actually pays for scholars to participate in the Host UK program. And it's a program where you can stay at a UK family's house for a night or a weekend. And the parents that I stayed in ended up coming for my graduation, and they literally adopted me. And I think that was one of the most amazing ways to experience British culture, apart from these other things. And of course, there's such a strong alumni community, and there is truly a lot of support, like Tenny said. So that is just a summary of my presentation, and we'll take questions later if there are any. Oh, I see there are a lot, but so we'll take some questions later. Thank you very much. And Sarah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Debbie, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Debbie, for that wonderful presentation. So Debbie just finished talking about the Study in the UK essay, which is the third essay in the application for Chevening scholarships. Okay, so I will be talking about the last essay in the Chevening application, which is the career development essay, the career essay. So before I move on, as a person who is applying for these scholarships, first of all, as my colleagues have mentioned, you have to do your research on this. You start by checking the scholarship sites, and then you move on to checking other things around that would help make your essays grounded. So you have to do your research on this, and this is not limited to your career essay. So what do you plan to do in future? What are you doing now? And what steps do you want to take to that stage? So the first thing I advise you to do is to do a research on the areas of the UK is partnering with Nigeria, and those would align with the kind of work that you want to do and the kind of work that the UK is interested in partnering with Nigeria as a country. You find a way to fit in to that kind of space and see how your work is going to be relevant. So the way the career essay is structured, the career essay should be structured in a time frame format. What I'm talking about is that your career essay should have a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan. So your short-term plan can be in the space of 1 to 3 years or 1 to 5 years, depending on what you actually prefer. Followed by a mid-term plan, we could be a space of 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 years. And then after that, you indicate your long-term plan, which is 10 years or over. You could tweak this according to your preference. But it's critical for you to have this tree to show how detailed you are, how intentional you are about your work after the Chevening scholarship. And I also recommend that in the Chevening application, you should indicate in your career essay that after the Chevening scholarship, you intend to come back to Nigeria to implement this career plan of yours in the country, because it's actually stipulated in the Chevening conditions that after the Chevening essay, after the Chevening scholarship, pardon me, you're supposed to be back in your home country and stay for at least a period of 2 years before you go anywhere else. So it's good for you to mention that in your essay that upon return to your home country after the scholarship, you wish to implement your short-term plans, your medium-term plans, and your long-term plans in your country of origin, which in this case is Nigeria and any other country, I believe. So you talk about your plans, and then when you're describing your plans, you be intentional about it. You try as much as possible to be precise. What am I saying? For instance, now, if your short-term plan when you come back to Nigeria is to work with either the British High Commission or even a Nigerian-based company, it does not have to be something with the UK immediately. It could be a Nigerian-based company. You can mention the name of that company and even the position you're looking for in that company. You want to be as clear as possible on what goals you plan to achieve. The clearer you are about your intentions, about your goals, the more believable your essay is, the more you gain to stand out. So you mentioned the partners, you mentioned the people you are hoping to work with, and you mentioned in what capacity you're hoping to work with them. Doing that gives you more an added advantage and clarity on the assessor's part. So aside that, you also mention, you also connect it to the bigger picture. What are you planning to do with these jobs? What is your overall goal? So your previous essays, all 4 essays, should be in sync. They should be coherent, they should align with each other. You shouldn't talk about a particular theme in one essay and then you make the other essays disjointed. For instance, if you're talking about contributing towards quality education in Nigeria, in your first essay, if you say, okay, this is what I've done to contribute towards quality education in Nigeria so far, you are going to link that through your other essays. You put that in your networking essay that, okay, I partnered with these people to contribute to quality education in this space. And then in your study in the UK essay, you can also link that through by saying, okay, in the bid to learn more on how to achieve quality education in Nigeria or whichever space you find yourself, I plan to study in so and so course. And then you make sure the courses are aligned with the goal, your overarching goal. And then your career essay is going to sum it up. It's supposed to nicely tie it up and say, okay, I have stated that my overall aim or goal is to contribute towards quality education. And now I want to work with this institution or that institution that is related to an education, that share the same values or share the same goal as me towards contributing to quality education. So your essays, it's best for your essays to align, to have an overarching theme, so that when someone looks at your essay and sees that, okay, you're talking about maybe gender equality or quality education or any of the SDGs or something else, they should see something coherent, they should see something clear, they should see something that it's not disjointed, and that would help you greatly in your essays. In terms of career change, so I've seen some questions where people ask that, okay, I studied this course as a first degree and I wish to change or do another course, a totally different course as a master's. That is fine, that is allowed. I have done such. I have the first degree of IT, but then I moved on. I did a totally different master's in gender and education issues. So the thing here is for you to find a clever way to connect this to show that, okay, there's a flow in your plan. It shouldn't be disjointed. So for me now, I found the connecting point between 2 areas. Some people wondered like, oh, how do you connect technology with education or gender affairs? And I use that, and I try as much as possible to explain that in my essay that, okay, there is an area called the ICT for development. This also includes education and tools you can use to fight gender inequality and the like. Find a common ground that you could use to consolidate those differences and make your essays flow. So concerning the question about why, if it's possible for you to change from one course to the other, fine and good, you can do that. But you try as much as possible to blend such, to give reasons why you want to do that, and convince people in a coherent manner that, okay, this is your plan, and it would all be easy for the assessor to understand, so far you arrange it in a coherent way. So yes, that is my talk about the career essay. In terms of my Chevening experience, it's a wonderful experience. My colleagues have given enough talk about that the Chevening experience is not just, is once in a lifetime, yes, but the effects are forever. You are a Chevening scholar for a year, you're a Chevener for life. You're part of the network. When you come back to Nigeria or whichever country of origin you are, you get to be included in part of the network, and you get to do things with people, either on a group level, cohort level, or individually. You reach out to one another. So my Chevening experience for me was a very wonderful one. Chevening offered me the opportunity to get exposed to a wide range of experiences and people from across the world. Just as Ms. Debbie has stated, I was also involved in the Host UK, which includes you living with a British family for over the weekend and learning more about the Chevening culture. So I got absorbed in the UK culture through this period. I also got to experience the multicultural state, in the sense that I got to connect with people from all over the world, and I'm still in connection with most of them. So if you're one that is considering to apply for Chevening, don't just look at it in terms of, okay, getting an education. Look at it also in terms of expanding your mind, giving yourself a bigger worldview of how the world operates and how you can fit in to that word, how you can contribute to that word. That brings me back to my career essay. Let your essay show the big picture as much as it can, and also show in the essay your place in making that big picture become a reality. So this so far is my talk on the career essay. I'll be happy to answer more questions concerning this section of the essay. Thank you very much. And I would be handing over to Ms. Howard Jidare, who is also a Chevening alumni member. She just joined us. She would also make a few contributions to this webinar, and after that, we'll have the Q&A session. Thank you, Ms. Howard, for joining us.
Hello, Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you, Awa. We can hear you.
Good evening. No, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, you'll have to make do with just my voice. I don't want to show my face. I look like a nightmare. I've been on a 7-hour trip and I look tired and stressed out. So I would not like you to see how tired I look. I'm glad to get on the webinar, even though I got in late. I'm sorry for that. Sarah knows I told her I would be traveling. So,
It's just comments.
okay, I would just like to add 1 or 2 things to what I got from Sarah's presentation, even though I have not had the previous one. But in case the other speakers have covered this aspect, then it will just be like driving it home. I think I am one of the matured students to come to the UK from Nigeria in the 2018 Chevening cohort. And this is one of the things I want to make clear to all intending Cheveners, that age is not a barrier. We do know that there is a lot of opportunities that age politics have been infused into it, especially for us women who have had to take control back of our lives after we have finished giving birth and raising the kids. We discover that we have been left out of a lot of opportunities because of our age. We spent our younger years taking care of children and raising them, and then we all of a sudden find that there are little or no opportunities for us. But Chevening has an opportunity for everyone regardless of age. So please do not let your age be a hindrance or a discouragement for you. What Chevening requires from you is the drive, the ambition, and the clarity of purpose, as Sarah covered in the later part of her presentation. And then you must understand that Chevening is an equal opportunity provider in the sense that there is no favoritism and no who you know, like the Nigerian factor, which we always know applies to many things that is Nigerian. Chevening is not a Nigerian scholarship. Nigeria has nothing to do with Chevening. So it is based on merit. When you are set to apply, just put your best foot forward. What I mean by that is give in your very best in your application. Aside from giving all your projections, your career plans, and your 5-year plans and your course of intent and your university, you will have to also bring all your positive attributes. You'll have to bring in your humanity, you have to bring in your community impact, you have to bring in your interpersonal and communication skills, because all those have some amount of positive that it will act to your presentation at the final interview. So you must bring all you have and be honest and authentic in who you are. That is all Chevening wants, because that is what leadership building is about. You knowing and acknowledging who you truly are and accepting yourself for who you truly are with the desire to make yourself better. So when you are applying for a Chevening scholarship, bring your best foot forward. Do not shy away from who you truly are or what you want to be or your career, your ambitions. Come as you are and do not be discouraged if you apply once and you are not selected. I know some students who have applied 3 times before they got the scholarship. So if this is what you truly want, do not let a first-time failure discourage or deter you. If you were not selected the first application, go ahead and apply next year, unless you have found a better alternative, because there are other alternatives to the Chevening scholarship, even internationally. But if it's Chevening you really want, do not let a first-time failure discourage you. If you need to apply 10 times to get it, go ahead and apply 10 times to get it. But nothing to lose by applying 10 times. So I think this is just what I would like to add to what my younger sisters and the working I have already said.
Yeah.
Chevening is a lifetime opportunity. You are a Chevening for a year. You are a scholar for a year and Chevening for life. It's a life-changing opportunity that everyone will have access to. And I will encourage all of you that are on this webinar to go ahead, remove that procrastination, give it a try. And if you don't get selected this year, don't worry, dust yourself up and go through your presentation with a fine comb. Apply again next year. We're here for you. We'll hold your hand to pull you through until you get there. God bless you, and I wish all of you good luck. So, Sarah, I'm done. Just a moment, I'm on a webinar. Sarah, I'm done.
That was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are now going to move over to the question and answer segment of this webinar. So in the application form, I give a slot for questions, and then I'm going to read out some of these questions, and our panelists will be answering these questions. So the first set of questions will be going over to Mrs. Layo, Ladepo. She would answer questions on matters relating to official issues. Hi, Layo.
Yeah, hi, Sarah. Are you going to be asking the questions to me one after the other, and then I'll answer them?
Yes.
Which ones do you want me to answer? Okay.
Do that. So the first question, someone asked if they are able to get the Chevening Scholarship if one doesn't get admission from a university while processing the Chevening Scholarship. Let's say in the space of they've gone through the application and interview space, but they haven't gotten a conditional or unconditional offer from a university. Does that nullify their chance of getting the scholarship?
Yes, it does. I mean, you have to have the unconditional offer letter, before you can even be invited for interview.
Okay.
So you have up until the deadline, which is next year, 16th of July, to have your unconditional letter. If you don't have that, you would not be called for interview. You have to have that.
Okay. Second question, someone mentioned that a reference letter, they noted that a reference letter has to be provided by referees. Can this letter be submitted a month after the application if they don't have it at hand?
Well, usually you would need to upload both of them during the application process. If you have to send an updated one, for example, maybe it wasn't signed properly or you had to get it in a hurry, then you can upload the updated one on your page. But you have to have your reference letters while you are completing the application now.
Okay. Someone asked if the 2-year work experience requirement is a must for the application. Can someone having below 2 years work experience apply?
So, I mean, this is a very competitive application process. And this is what separates you from the next person. It's either you have a minimum of 2 years working experience or you do not have it. So that is how we determine whether you are eligible or not eligible to apply. So you have to have your 2 years experience minimum.
Okay. All right. In terms of reference, someone asked if they could provide reference from just this professional space, because usually it's advisable to have one academic and one professional, if I'm correct. So someone asked if one can submit both from just an academic or professional angle.
Yes, you can submit from either of the two or both from one, from the academic or from the professional. It just depends. You have to look for someone who is going to be able to speak very well about you. It depends on how much experience you've had after you left school. You might have worked for many years and you've found that the person that you want to referee you is the person that you've been working with more recently. So you wouldn't want to go all the way back to your academic contacts because you don't need them at this point. So it depends on how far you have gone after your degree program, basically.
Okay. Okay. And the last question for now for you is, someone asked that the DFID, that's the UK DFID, has been changed to FCDO. Since that has been made, has the UK priority areas for Nigeria changed? If yes, are you aware of the new priorities, and does that affect the scholarship, the application for the scholarship? Because we advise that they look at UK priority areas and align their scholarships with them.
Yes, first of all, because of the merger, there hasn't been any major change. We have just begun this relationship, would I say, on the 3rd of September. So it's a new one. We have just become the FCDO. We have had priority areas that we have been working on throughout the year. But as you know that there was the pandemic. So our COVID-19 response has been included in our priority areas. The previous priority areas from last year are still the same priority areas now. I think we probably just have in addition, I'll just read through them so that everyone, especially as you are not all able to see my slides, I'm so sorry about that. But the priority areas are climate change, there's security and stability, trade and investment, demography, science and innovation, the COVID-19 response, and even agriculture. But aside from these priority areas, we're not specifically looking for these. It would depend on what you are linking your applications with. It could be that it's a global priority and you're looking at how you're going to tie, with that priority and how you're going to impact in Nigeria when you come back. It doesn't have to be specifically along the lines of these areas. It just depends on how you sell yourself, basically. So, I mean, it could also be a problem that is evident in Nigeria that you want to solve, and you go about presenting that in your application form. This is what I intend to do when I come back to Nigeria. There are all kinds of courses that people are applying for. They don't have to be related to these priority areas. But then if you can't tie them with the priority areas, it will help your application be, a little bit stronger. We're going to be having a session on priority areas on the 17th of this month, which is sometime next week. And we'll be sending out links on that on the UK and Nigeria social media pages. So please look out for that, because we're going to have a detailed discussion about priority areas. But in the meantime, just begin to complete the form, fill all the areas that you think you can do now, and then start trying your hands out at the essays and see how to, put them together, make sure that your passion shows through from those essays. And then if there are any little bits and pieces that you want to add later on, that's why it's preferable that you work offline. So when you work offline, you can always go back and make amendments. And then when people review your application and your essays, you can go back and make amendments. You cannot do everything in one day. You have to do it in stages. I can't hear you, Sarah. Are you on mute?
I'm muted now. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Layo. Last question. Someone asked if an international passport is required for the application.
No, you do not need one. You actually only need it at the point of interview. As long as you can upload a form of identification, that's what matters at this point.
Okay. And just to reiterate, to go over, the scholarship is just for master's study in the UK, right? Not for PhD, not for any other thing.
No, just a one-year master's program. I can see a question that just popped up for me. It says, is it possible for a lady to get the scholarship and go to the UK with a baby or child? Yes, you can. You just have to apply for a dependent visa for your child and probably go along with your husband or your spouse so that they can support the baby while you're studying. It is possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Layo. We would come back to you if there are more questions that would be asked in your capacity. All right, moving on now, I would like Mr. Kester to answer some questions with regards to CAAN and work experience, leadership related questions.
Okay, go ahead, please. I can hear you.
Okay.
I may just have to do with the voice now because I've left home, so we can talk. Go on.
Okay. All right, sir. Okay, so someone asked, how big and recent must their community service be for them to be counted as a leader in the Chevening application for the leadership?
Oh, great. As a matter of fact, there's no hard and fast rule about it. I love the feedback from you, from Teniola, and also from Debbie. These things are not cast in stones. It may be an old experience, but how well are you able to sell it when you're writing your application and your essays? How good, how relevant, how well have you been able to put them together? And I always tell people, it's not about verbosity. When they get to the UK, they will teach you how they write. We like so much description in Nigeria. And though some people are beginning to recognize some Nigeria English, but there's a way we write. I've told so many persons who came to me with their essays, there's no English word like severally. It's a Nigerian word. You either say several times, it's important, or you've mentioned it time without number or innumerable times. There are Nigerian English, and those English find their way to some people's essays. So it's very important that you consult your dictionary, write well, and put your experiences together. So it doesn't matter how long those experiences are or how much of this community service you have, it is how relevant are they to your application. Yes,
right.
Sarah.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering that question. So second question, someone asked if there is a website where they can check the activities of the CAAN network or any social media handle to be informed about CAAN activities and priorities to get familiar with the CAAN association.
Thank you. Our association is for alumni members, but we are trying to rejig and resuscitate some of our social media handle, but particularly we are on Twitter, which is CAAN-NG, and we are also on LinkedIn. But right now, the new executive, my new team, we are working on actually building our website over again. We had a blog site, which was CANIT and Candid. It was 2 blog sites, but we are reviving them again. And from the end of October, this should be up and running. But the association is actually meant for alumni members. So some of our WhatsApp group is strictly for members, which is not open. for people who are not yet, who have not passed through the Chevening Scholarship Program. So that is how it is. But if you want to know more about our activity, we have a quarterly program on channels. We just started one on Arise. We have another one on AIT, and we are beginning to also create so many platforms for us to discuss and network. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Sir Kester, for answering that question, Mr. Kester. So the next question, someone asked, after this webinar, are there plans to develop mentor-mentee relationships?
We have for Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria, we have an ongoing mentoring program, and the cycle is not yet completed. So we will start the next one because we don't want to rush it. We have allocated over 51 young Cheveners to different experienced Chevening scholars everywhere, in the media, in medicine, in ICT, in so many areas, even in HR. So I have two presently allocated to me. One live in the US and one live in Nigeria. So the mentoring program is meant for alumni members, where we actually do a lot in terms of how to find a good job, how to write your application, how to go for interviews, and many other ones. So this cycle is ongoing. It is at the end of this cycle that we start another one again, where we allocate mentees to mentors. So we have one for the alumni member.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Kester, for answering that question appropriately. So the last question would be about, is related to job experience really, but it's linked to leadership as well. So someone asked if their leadership essay would be affected by the nature or type of job experience they have.
It doesn't affect it. Let me give you this example. John Maxwell says something about leadership. He said leadership is not in the title. Leadership is not in the nuances of leadership, or where you stay or what you do. It's your ability to influence and also impact. Let me give you this example. In 2016, I was on the panel interviewing a doctor, a medical doctor. He said something that made people laugh. But at the end of the day, he got the scholarship. Let me give you this example. He's a gerontologist. Gerontologists are doctors that look over old people in our society. And in Nigeria, in the ecosystem, the medical doctors that take care of old people, they are not up to 5%. The young man talked about what he has done in impacting the lives of old people in Nigeria. In fact, one of my panelists who actually worked for the British High Commission said, you know what? This is the kind of people we need. He was able to sell his essay, what he did end to end, and how much of that part, that unique, that niche type of medical practice has affected and impacted the life of people. You know, in Nigeria, when someone is old and is suffering from amnesia, they say the person is a witch or a wizard. But this young man sold his idea on what he was going to do. Apart from the fact that we don't have so many old people home in Nigeria, he planned to impact the life of the people through what he called community adoption. That is the kind of thing the man did. And somehow he got a scholarship. How well, it does not matter what you do. How much of impact will it have on the Nigeria as a country when you're back? How much will it affect your sector? How much impact? How will you leapfrog the opportunities that you have? So if you have a trickle-down effect, it's important. A young man applied 2 years ago. He said he's going to set up an ICT hub to train and retrain young people on how to do coding. He gave us an example of what he's already doing. He set up a coding school, which is for free in his community. And somehow, before the interview, he has already set up over 47 of them across the northern part of the country and some part of Abuja. And it was empirical. He showed us pictures or what he has done. There's a young lawyer who got it at University College London some time ago. I was on the panel. Let me give you this example. The young man set up a pro bono service for people who don't have money to pay for legal services. As a lawyer, he offered pro bono services for so many persons who were arrested for misdemeanors, environmental sanitation offenses, driving offenses. He defended them and was able to provide free legal services for the people. That is the kind of opportunities Chevening give people. It is limitless. How you could sell what you do in your area is very critical, and how much you could sell it to the panelists and also in your essay. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kester, for doing justice to that question. All right, I would move on to Ms. Debbie, who would answer some questions relating to universities and studying in the UK.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you.
Hello, Debbie. You're welcome. Okay, so someone asked that should they first apply to schools before they apply to the scholarship, or they should apply to the scholarship first, or they should apply to both at the same time? Which do you advise?
I think you can do both, because some schools may have like application deadlines and all of that. You don't have to do one or the other. You can do both, but you need the unconditional offer for your final selection for the award. And it's always beneficial to have it before your interview as well. So you can do both. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, all right. The next question, someone asked, is it possible to apply for admission into UK universities that are not part of Chevening partners?
That would not be recommended because you likely would not be selected. So look on the Chevening website for the approved universities and approved courses before you make your selection. Okay.
A third question, some UK universities require you to pay an application fee before you get into the school. Does Chevening cover this? Is this part of the application? Is this a requirement of the application process too?
Okay, so Chevening does not cover your application fees for your universities. You have to cover that yourself. But I think a majority of UK universities do not actually require application fees. It's just a few that require. I know University of Nottingham does require though, and maybe Oxford, but a lot of them do not require.
Okay. Another question for the application. So someone asked, pardon me, someone asked that does the scholarship cover just the tuition of the school fees, or there are other things that the scholarship covers?
Okay, so I think that's one of the amazing things about the Chevening Scholarship. It covers your tuition. I can see Layo coming on. I'm not sure if she wanted to take the question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the scholarship covers your tuition. It also gives you a generous stipend, monthly stipend. It also covers like your visa cost as well. You get like an arrival allowance, that's what it's called, when you get to the UK. So it's really amazing, and as a pre-departure allowance as well when you're returning. It covers your flight cost as well. It does not cover your accommodation cost is typically put within your stipend. So you're going to have to pay for your accommodation from your stipend. So that's pretty much what it covers, unless Layo has anything else to add.
No, you're correct. That's basically what it is. Thank you.
Okay, still on the matter of schools in the UK. So someone asked that if they have a conditional offer, what can they do to move it from a conditional to unconditional offer? In terms of what do you think will suffice to make their conditional offers become unconditional?
I mean, for you to get a conditional offer, your school would have told you what they require. So do what they require. If they're asking you for an English test, then submit your English test. Or like basically your school will tell you why you're getting that conditional offer. Sometimes it may also be some schools talk about something related to tuition. So it might just be you sending your final award letter actually to tell them that you have the Chevening Scholarship, or that you're applying for the Chevening Scholarship. So, yeah.
All right. In terms of schools, again, someone asks, should they apply for as many schools as possible, or they should just tie the application to the 3 schools that they put in their Chevening application? What do you advise?
Well, I mean, it depends on if you're considering other scholarships, but Chevening will only let you put 3 universities. So apply for those 3 universities, to those 3 universities that you'll be submitting for your Chevening application. If you want to apply for other scholarships that are tied to other universities, you can go ahead to spread your options. But you can only put the 3 universities that you would like to attend on your Chevening application.
Okay. Someone also added that during the interviews phase, their application choices sort of changed. So they got the 3 universities that they put when they applied. Before their interview phase, they got an offer from a university that is not part of those 3 universities that were put in the application. So the person asking, is that a good, is it a good choice to include that in the, perhaps during the interview phase, notify them of a change of institutions, that, okay, another institution has been added from, they've gotten a conditional offer from an institution that wasn't initially put in the application during the application. What do you think about that?
Okay, so in my time, during your interview, you're given an opportunity to change your choice of universities. And I think even leading up to the day of your interview, you can go online and update your choice of universities. I'm not too sure if that has changed. And then I'll hand that over to Layo again to confirm. So I'm sure I'm giving the right updated information. But typically you can change during your interview, at the interview stage, and even up till that.
Okay.
But I don't think you can change afterwards.
Okay.
That's probably the last opportunity you get to change.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Debbie, for answering those questions. I would get back to you more to answer in that regard or any other one related.
Yes.
All right. Miss Tenny would answer some questions with regard to networking and application for second or more timers, for people who are reapplying.
Yes. Should I go ahead, or do you want to?
Yeah, I could ask. Let me ask the questions. So someone asked that they have been unsuccessful twice. What can they do differently this time to make their application stand out?
Well, I think I mentioned this before, but then generally, you know, the reviewers for the essays, they review a lot of essays. They review, I don't even know how many essays they give each person, but you can just imagine how many people apply for the scholarship, you know. So they review loads and loads and loads of essays.
Is this still working?
But then if there's nothing interesting about it, or there's nothing passionate or compelling about it, and then it's very likely that you'll be overlooked. I was reviewing a friend's essays at some point, and I saw that for each essay, I think there were 2 or 3 essays where she introduced the essay with the same statistic, you know, so maybe like let's say 30% of children in Nigeria die between the ages of 0 to 5, you know, that kind of statistics. She used at the beginning of one essay and at the beginning of another essay. And I had to tell her that, you know, babe, like in a way that will be convincing to others. It's sort of like, you know, how do you convince someone? So Chevening has a scholarship in their hands. How do you convince them to hand the scholarship to you? How do you convince them that you are a worthy investment for them? Because it's a lot of money, you know, between the fees and the stipend and the flights and everything, because they pay for everything, even for your health care, for your visa, every single thing is paid for. So even the extra luggage that you may have to pay for coming back to Nigeria, they pay for that as well. They give you money to cover that. So how do you convince them that you're a worthy investment, you know, for their funds? And if you have this at the back of your mind, it's sort of like, it's almost like you're pitching yourself. So you're selling yourself to the reviewers, and you don't want to sound like a robot. If you're selling yourself to reviewers, you don't want to sound the same as everyone will be sounding. You want your voice to come through. You want your passion to come through. You want your personality to come through, even to an extent. You want people to read your essays and know that, okay, this is what this girl is trying to do, or this is what this guy is trying to do, and this is why we should support them in trying to do that. I also always say that you should try to be consistent in your essays. So use the power of emphasis or repetition. So if you're trying to become the #1 biochemist in Nigeria or something like that, so you want to become the leading biochemist in Nigeria focused on, I don't know, drug reform or drug something, capture that in your mind. So have almost like a clear phrase of what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go. So if that's your destination, and have it clear in your mind and have it even described in maybe a few words. And then even from your first essay, start to say, you know, in my journey towards becoming the leading biochemist in Nigeria, you know, this is what I did. I spoke to this person and they helped me do this, or I was introduced to this person, or I was in charge of this team. So from the beginning, make it clear what your destination is, where you're trying to go. And that's how you help the reviewer see a thread that runs through all of your essays. I think that's the mistake that many people do, because a lot of us are young, you know, to an extent, and a lot of us are not very clear on what we're trying to do. So we don't have clarity of purpose. We have an idea where we're trying to go, but it's a bit vague. And, you know, like, we know we want to do good things, and, you know, we are all over the place too, but then when it's that way and you're not able to clarify it in your essays, then it's not interesting for the reviewer. But I encourage people, because I know that even though we say you should be clear, I know that many of us are still not very, very clear on what we're trying to do. But then for the purpose of these essays, you need to choose one path and explain that path. So even if you're thinking, I want to be a dancer, but also a doctor, I mean, that's good, and that's good for you. But then for the purpose of the essays, you need to choose one path and be very clear and very direct. And this is where I'm trying to go. This is what I'm trying to be. And this is how the scholarship and the education, the masters, the community, the network, everything is going to help me get there. So I think that that's one thing that we have to remember for the essay stage. You know, start the essays early. Don't take it for granted. Don't be like the way I was when I wrote my essays the first time. I was lucky. So I wrote my essays maybe 2 days before the deadline, and then I turned it in, and I was surprised to get shortlisted. So because I just read the essays and I got shortlisted, I was like, small thing. There's no need to even do anything. Because someone had told me that the interviews is just them confirming that you didn't lie in your essays. And I was like, of course I did not lie in my essays. No, while like, I'll go there and tell them everything. So I did not prepare for the interview at all. You know, I was at the British High Commission, and it was literally 5 minutes to my interview that I was trying to go on my phone to check, Chevening interview preparation tips. And of course it wasn't going to work. It was 5 minutes to my interview that I heard that there was something like the STAR approach, and I didn't even know what it was. You know, I got into the interview room, and the first thing they asked me was, you know, were you part of some of the preparation workshops? And I was like, preparation workshops? I didn't even know that there was anything like that. I didn't know that people were actually holding workshops to prepare. So I was very unprepared, and like I said, I flaked out on that interview. So I'd say prepare. I know some of us are thinking, we want to go to the UK, we want to study in the UK, but then we don't even have a clear plan. I think that if you're going to apply for this to win it. Don't apply for this just by the way. Actually put in the work that you need to put in. We've said a lot here, yes, but then there are also a lot of resources available online. Almost every scholar that comes through this process writes a blog, or they do like a video, you know, like mock interviews, or they write a blog on how to write essays. There are even some people that have posted their essays online. I wouldn't encourage you to read essays, but then you can do that if you want. Exhaust all of the information available online and make sure that you have a huge arsenal to work from, because there's nothing new under the sun. If you even go online, you can see the entire list of interview questions. Someone has actually compiled like the list of 40 questions that different people were asked, because you'll be asked maybe 2 or 3 or 4 questions, but then they collected questions from different people and they put it on a list and it's online somewhere. So exhaust the resources available on the internet and write this thing to win it. That's what I would say about, you know, moving forward to the next round for people that have been trying to succeed in the applications.
All right. Thank you, Tenny, for answering that question succinctly. The next question, someone asked how to make their network essays different from the leadership essays, because you know they have to be coherent. At the same time, there's a tendency for repetitions to happen. So how do you make clarity differences between both essays?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. But then I think that if you understand what leadership is and you understand what networking is, and you try to sort of have a clear comprehension of what your approach to both are, then it'll be easier for you to separate the two. So the idea of leadership is, okay, what experiences have you had that have put you in a leadership position, and what have you learned from that? Another thing I'd like to mention is that apart from learning positive things or achieving positive outcomes, there's also failure. So you can honestly write something about being put in a leadership position and the challenges that you faced and how you failed and what you learned from that and how you apply that learning to something else. So leadership is very clear. If you go online and Google traits of a leader, you see some things, maybe tenacity, I don't know, if you Google it, you find it, and look at those keywords and try to think back to your past and to your experience. Okay, what are the situations where I had to show these traits or where I had to acquire these traits? And that's leadership essay. It's about being a leader in the different ways that manifest. But then when it comes to networking, it's about people. So it's about connections. It's not necessarily about leadership. Leadership can be about networking, but then networking on its own is about creating connections with people and exchanging value with them. And I do think that if you sit down and you really think about your past experience, you will not lack examples to cite. I had the same challenge when I started to write my essays, because I was thinking leadership, because I thought it was about being the course rep in your university or being the head of the students union or something like that. And I didn't do those things. But then I spoke to a friend of mine and she told me, well, you worked on a project with one of the Nigerian agencies and you had to train a group of civil servants. You had to do this, you had to do that. In your office, you have become the de facto leader of the staff. You mediate between your colleagues and management. So just the things in our everyday lives that we may not realize represent leadership or represent networking. But I think that if you start the essays early and you sort of like write down a pool of instances, so a pool of anecdotes, you'd see what fits in where, and you'll be able to give as many examples as possible under each of the essays. I hope that answered that question.
Oh, yes, I believe it did. Thank you very much, Tenny, for that question. So the last question you'll be answering for now, the question has to do with reapplication. Someone asked, is it wise to declare that one is applying to other scholarships in the last part of application? And if, and the section that has to do with, have you applied before? Did you apply last year? Should one be truthful in case of being a reapplication? Should one say, okay, I actually applied before, I'm reapplying? What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely be truthful. You can't lie to the system. The system has your records. So I think the first question you asked was about indicating that you're applying to other scholarships. Yes. To my knowledge, I guess Layo can confirm, to my knowledge, that doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you in any way. In fact, it even shows that you are determined if you're applying to other scholarships, because it shows that you're not tying your career to just Chevening. You're determined that whatever happens, you're going to get to that destination one way or the other. Layo, do you want to say something on that?
So what you're saying is correct, because I mean, you have people who have applied up to 5 times. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just have to tell the truth, because as Teniola was saying, people will discover the the secretariat will discover if you have applied before. So there's no point lying about it. And then if you have to apply or you are applying to other scholarships, you should let them know, because usually they would know that you're not just trying the Chevening Scholarship, you're trying others as well. It will depend on, which one, you get selected for eventually.
Yeah, and if I can even add, so everything is a story, and it depends on how you present it. For me, like when I applied the second time, right in my essay, I said something like, the fact that I applied the first time and I was unsuccessful, and I'm applying the second time shows tenacity, and this is one of the traits of leadership: persisting until you achieve a particular goal and not giving up because you failed the first time. So I don't use the word packaging, but then it's about the way you present it and you phrase it. It's all part of your journey. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You shouldn't lie. It's all part of you getting to wherever you're going to get to at the end.
All right.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Tenny, for doing justice to that question, and Layo as well. Okay, so we're running out of time, but we still want to attempt some questions from the Facebook Live and even on the webinar chat boxes. So Layo, you're going to be answering this question. Someone posted that they see on the website that you have until the 22nd of February to upload references. But you said earlier on in the session that reference have to go with application by the 3rd of November. Can you clarify this?
Yes, so in the initial stage, you will do that because you need to submit something with your application. But if you have to make, as I said earlier on, I said if you have amendments to make, you can still go back into the portal and do that. But you only have a period to be able to do that. After a while, it will be frozen and you wouldn't be able to upload anything else. But in reality, sometimes you still can send it to us by email if you want to update the information that you have.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. Another question from the Facebook Live session is that someone asked if volunteering periods and personal organizational impact, the work hours, do they count are they also valid in terms of calculating one's work experience as a criteria for the application?
Yes, part-time work, full-time work, voluntary work, any type of work can be added as work experience. But the thing is, if you are applying maybe as a medical student, you do your housemanship. You cannot add your housemanship to your work experience because it is part of your degree or your qualification, basically. So those are the only exceptions to it. But for anything else, you can add it to your work experience.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Someone also asked that they do not have an official transcript or a certificate. Does that disqualify them from applying?
So at the point when you're submitting your application, you can upload your certificates because that proves that you've completed your degree. But if you have applied to because at the time when you were, or you started this application, you probably hadn't applied for a transcript from your school. So you can submit that one later on, once you get it. In my experience, we've had a few people who have said it in the application form that we do not have our transcript because maybe because the school is on strike or something, or one kind of problem or the other. But as long as you submit the initial certificates that show that you've completed your degree, that's what matters in the initial stage. If you want to send in your transcript later, you can.
Okay, so one has to send in either a certificate or transcript at the initial stage of the application. That is non-negotiable. Am I correct?
No, I said the certificate. You know that the transcript takes a longer time to get from the university. Some people already have it because they needed it or required it for maybe some job application or something. But for those who hadn't requested for it and they begin the process now, they can still submit it later on.
Okay, okay. Oh, that means it is required then. All right. And in terms of calculation, someone said, can I apply if I have up to 2,800 hours of work, but not up to 2 years of work experience?
So 2,800 is the 2 years, isn't it? Because 1,400 is the 1 year.
Yes.
So the minimum is the 2,800 and more. So if you have 5,000, you have 10,000, you can add that. But definitely there must be a minimum requirement, and the minimum requirement is the 2,800.
All right. Okay.
And someone is asking if the certificates or transcripts should be in English. They don't necessarily have to be in English, but then you have to upload it exactly as it is. You cannot change it, but you can have I've forgotten what is a kind of translation that you can have that goes with the certificate or the transcript that you can submit along with it.
Okay. And someone also asked that, is it true that undergraduate internships don't count as part of the 2 years work experience? If yes, why?
So as I tried to explain initially, if any kind of work experience has to do with the completion of maybe a degree or HND or whatever it is you are doing, it will not be considered because it is a requirement. But then if at the time when you are in school, you are doing some volunteering work somewhere, voluntary work somewhere, or you're working full-time at any point, those are the experiences that you will add up, including NYSC. NYSC is also a work experience.
All right. Thank you very much, Layo, for answering those questions. All right. Ms. Debbie, I would like to ask a question here relating to study in relation to experience in the field.
Okay.
Yes. So someone asked if it's okay to delve from a point where they studied, like for instance, if experience in the field is different from what you intend to study, does this affect my application?
No, it doesn't. I think you covered that also in your presentation. It doesn't necessarily affect your application. You just have to write a very compelling story about why you're switching fields. Is there something that sparked your interest in that field? Is it tied to something what do you want to do with it when you come back to your country? Is it also tied to like the UK priority areas? That is always a good story to tell. Is it tied to something that your country, some policy your country is working on, a strategy, an agenda, a national or global agenda? So it's really just convincing the panelists about why you want to switch to this area and what you're going to do with it. And I just want to add something that I always recommend to applicants when writing their essays is tell your story in numbers. And Tenny mentioned something that someone wrote, put a statistic at the beginning of her essay. And I think it's really important to tell your story in numbers because it's quantifiable. It's easy for someone to see that if I give this person this scholarship, 500 children in maybe 3 communities will have access to education, primary education or something like that. Telling your story in numbers is always a powerful way to translate sort of your results or your achievements in a quantifiable terms.
All right, Debbie. Thank you for answering the question. Okay, Layo, someone asked again, if a 2 or lower class degree would be accepted in a Chevening application if one has to have a high academic point to apply. I know you covered this, but the person missed out. So I would appreciate if you could go over that again.
So as I explained earlier on, this is a competition, and usually someone who has a 2-1 is considered much stronger than a 2-2. But the truth about it is, after you have completed your first degree, you have your 2-2 if you do have it, but you've gone ahead to do maybe some work in other areas, and you built yourself up, and you are now much stronger than when you completed your first degree. Then you can, in your application, you can cite the changes that you have gone through over a period of time. No one is going to be going out specifically to look and see if you have a 2-1 or a 2-2. But obviously, we want you to be like a strong 2-2, which means that you know that your background is a strong background. But we do not just cut off people who have 2-2. We have a lot of Cheveners or Chevening scholars who have applied using a 2-2, and they were given the scholarship. It depends on how you put your application together. It depends on what your passion is. It depends on how you've been able to answer those essay questions. You might have a lot of experience, and you're able to show us in clear examples how you've been able to, you know, be an outstanding leader in a particular situation or in a project. All those things are added to the 2-2 that you already had before. So they now look at it in a holistic way and then decide, you know, whether you have a strong application or not. But it's not limited to only people who have 2-1s. You also have people who have 2-2s, but because they're very bright and they have, you know, been involved in different types of projects and have been able to, you know, network, they have been able to show their passion, and they have a very clear career plan, then that basically will sell them, and their application will be sifted as one of the eligible ones for interviews. So it does not mean that because you have a 2-2 that you will not be selected. Just put in the best and make sure that your application is as strong as possible, and that your essays are reflective of what you've done over the last few years. And then, you know, you just hope for the best with that. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Larry, for answering that question. Okay, so we're running out of time. Unfortunately, we can't take all the questions here. I would like to just ask about 2 questions. One will be for Mr. Kester, and then the last one will be for Tenny. And then after that, we would wrap up the webinar. So, Mr. Kester.
Go ahead, please. What's the question?
All right. Someone asked if how they could construct their essays to be coherent, in the sense that what they've done in terms of leadership, it's not directly related to what they plan to pursue in terms of career. For instance, okay, the doctor experience you gave, what if the person is not a doctor but is involved in medical outreach? I believe that's what the question is about.
Yeah, fantastic question. I will always tell people, until you go to the UK, I had a master's in UI before I went to the UK for my master's that when I got the Chevening Scholarship. But one thing we love to do in Nigeria is that we like, my professor then, who supervised my dissertation, said we love flowery languages, particularly from Nigeria. We love long sentences. He helped me. It was a lot of work, but his supervision ensured that my dissertation was published in 4 academic journals. It was a lot of work. I made a distinction. That's not the major issue I want to emphasize here. But I mean, there's a way we write in Nigeria. We must write concisely. Address what you want to talk about. Don't give irrelevant details. What I'm trying to say is this. If you're on medical outreaches, how many persons did you impact with your medical outreach? How many communities did you reach? How impactful was the project? Who were involved? what were the non-monetary values that the project entailed? How much of impact did you have? I'll give an example again apart from medicine. There was a gentleman who we interviewed in 2015, and he actually worked in a company that was into the supply of medical kits, diagnostic kits. And he said when he was working as a supervisor, he provided opportunity for the riverine communities because it was difficult for vehicles to reach those environments. He hired boats for those communities so that they could get access to laboratories that carry out, diagnostics. That was what the gentleman did. And he said when he comes back to Nigeria, he's still going to go back to those riverine communities so that they could have access to laboratory equipment. That is his work. I remember again in 2013, we interviewed someone, and the gentleman was into agriculture. He was into the rearing of pig. He had piggery, and also he succeeded in establishing how you can train the farmers, cross-breeding of pigs, how he uses resources to provide manures and different things. He used organic materials locally. That was an experience he had. And that elicited a lot of interest and attention from the panelists. He was able to put this in his essay. No long story. So I would advise people to say, write and be straightforward. Be intentional in selling your innate skills, your intrinsic ability to impact life. How much will it impact? How many persons will your idea reach? That is the best way you can actually sell your idea. I always use USP. What is your unique selling point? How much of idea do you have? How will you reach the people? How much of resources do you need? What is the trickle-down effect? If you can't reach the whole Nigeria, how much of people will be reaching your community, your local government council? Those things are very important and salient in putting your point together. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome very much, Mr. Kester. Thank you for answering that question. Okay, so our last question, we go to Miss Tenny. Hello, Tenny.
Yes, I'm here. Did you mention the question already?
No, I haven't. I'm yet to mention the question. So the question is twofold. The person asks if they have to create a new account when reapplying, or they could just apply under the same profile as an applicant.
Yeah, I think Layo will have to confirm again, but then I believe that every year the system refreshes itself. So you have to create a new application. You have to create a new account. You can't use your former account. That was my experience. I don't know if it's a standard.
It is. You're correct, Teniola.
All right. So please start your application again and write it to win it, Thank you, Sarah.
Right. You're welcome very much, Tenny, for answering that question. Okay. This is how far we can come on the webinar. Thank you so much for attending. We are all very grateful. My thanks goes to the fellow panelists, my panelists on this webinar. Mrs. Ladepo, who is the program officer at the British High Commission Abuja, and she's also the head of Chevening Affairs here in the country. My thanks also goes to Mr. Kester Osahenye, who is the CAAN president, the Chevening Alumni Association of Nigeria network president. Thank you very much for this event. I'm also grateful to Debbie Braide, who is a 2018-2019 Chevening alumni member. Permits me to add that she also graduated from the University of Nottingham. Thank you for gracing this event. And Teniola Tayo, who is now an alumni. She's no longer a scholar. A 2020 alumni at the School of LSE, I believe, the London School of Economics. Thank you for presenting this event. We're also grateful to the Chevening body and the CAAN network for their support, for their endorsements. Grateful to the British High Commission for also showing support for this webinar to come alive. Thank you for all those who joined in, either through the Zoom or Facebook or YouTube live stream, whichever one. We are very grateful. We're sorry that we can't answer all your questions, and some questions honestly have been answered already, so it's more of a repetition. Thank you for joining in on this, and we wish you all the best in your applications. Before I end, would there be any last words from the panelists?
I would just say,
okay.
Okay, thank you, Layo, because I just
first.
actually want to go off. Thank you, everyone, for joining. From my window here, I could see over 100 that joined. I must tell you that it's not, don't say anything is impossible. It is possible for you to gain this scholarship, and I will encourage you to apply. Exemplify those leadership abilities. Don't give up on yourself. You must rise above those pessimism. You have to apply and ensure that you provide your documentation. I always tell people, don't forge documents. The British High Commission is one of the most powerful organs that could do a lot of background check on what you're submitting. So don't even dare it. Don't submit any fake documents. Submit the right documentation, because the school will also find out if you're not submitting the right document. I will encourage you to apply, and apply with your head up. Apply telling your own story. And I wish you all the best for your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kester. Layo, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's been a real pleasure sharing, tips with all of you here. I know that it could not be exhaustive, everything that we've said here. So I would like to advise everyone to go back to our website and read it over and over again. You'll probably find information there that we have not all been able to answer here, because there have been quite a number of questions. Sarah, I think I saw some questions about the recording. A lot of people have been asking, is this going to be recorded? Are they going to get the recording? So I would like you to clarify that as well in your last few words. So please continue to visit the website, the Chevening website, and if you can, follow our UK and Nigeria social media handles. It will help you to see what UK does in Nigeria, and then you'll be able to understand what our priorities are and maybe how to link your applications with those. Wishing you all the best as you put in your applications. We look forward to receiving them. Thank you.
Thank you, Layo. Debbie, do you have any last words to say?
Okay, thank you so much, everyone that attended, and thanks, Sarah, for putting this together. It's really been a pleasure, and we really look forward to welcoming as many people to the Chevening community. It's really an amazing experience. It's an experience of a lifetime, and like I said, it really follows you for life. I just want to say that as you write your essays, just like Mr. Kester further emphasized, talk about the impact of your work, because the impact of the work you have done and the potential impact of the work that you will do, and quantify this as much as possible, make it very clear and direct for the readers and reviewers. And I wish you all the very best. And I'm taking Tenny's words, write it to win it, like hashtag write it to win it. So all the best, guys.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Tenny, any last words?
Yeah, I just want to add something for people that are applying the second or third or fourth time. You may be tempted to use your essays and just upload them the same way that they are, but don't do that. It's competitive every single year. I have friends that also got shortlisted one year, then reapplied the second year, and they didn't even get to the interview stage. So make sure that your essays reflect progress. So show what you have been doing, even though you didn't get the scholarship the previous year or the other years. Show how you have been moving forward and how you still need this to get you to the next stage. So that's just a tip for people that are reapplying. Don't just upload the same essays, try to improve your essays before you resubmit them. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. And I wish everyone the best, Maybe I'll repeat it again. Write it to win it. Don't just have assets. Actually put in the work that you need to put in. Thank you.
Yeah, write it to win it. Thank you very much, Tenny. Permit my error. I forgot to mention the other panelist who was here. She's no longer here. Her name is Mrs. Hawajidare. She's also a 2018-2019 alumni, and she sends her regards. She asked me to give her last words, which are just never give up. Do not think you're too old to apply for Chevening, and just keep going. Chevening is based on merit. It's not based on who you know. So far you can present that you are a leader, either potential or currently a leader, Chevening will take you, will accept you. So she sends her regards as well, and wish everyone best of luck. So regarding the recording, I would put up the recording on the recording is currently on our Facebook Live, which is the Chevening webinar 2020-15 September. That's the name of the page. So it's currently live there, and I believe it will be there for a while, but I would still re-upload it to that and my personal social media handles, which is Sarah Egbo. I would send a link. I would upload it to a Google Drive or any form of online backup so that it could be there for people to easily reassess it. And even on my YouTube page, Sarah Egbo is going to be there. I will try as much as possible to respond to people who registered concerning the recording and how they can access it. So thank you very much once again for joining, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I also want to add that your essay is valid even if you don't have it reviewed by any of us, by a Chevening alumni member. You could also share it to your friends, someone in a professional capacity to have a look at it. Most importantly is to have your essays vetted by someone else, and I believe you're good to go. Thank you very much for attending this webinar again, and I wish you all the best of luck. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.